Being a young person in today's age can be outright challenging. And no, you can't stoic your way out of this one. Think of it this way, with all this modern technology bringing us closer than ever before, hence making our communities larger than our usual small circles, today it's much more difficult than ever to escape from peer pressure. Young adulthood is the time when we're most vulnerable as humans because of our many unanswered questions. And this time is basically when we're expected to indulge in self discovery and make a lot of mistakes as we try to answer all these whys in our lives. But somehow in this generation, I don't necessarily know where it stems from, but we are expected to know it all at this age and have it all figured out, which is basically unclear. So most of us, due to the fear of missing out on everything that is happening in this fast-paced society, end up taking the long route and make rash decisions that end up hurting us for the rest of our lives. As you all already know, technology through social media has made it even a lot worse than it could have been, because we are easily bullied on the internet about our views and the way we've chosen to live our lives, especially when it does not conform to the normal beliefs. I believe that this has always been predominant in our evolution as a species, because humans as social animals, one way or the other, have to conform to the stereotype of the group, without which they are being alienated. But now, with social media, the group is larger than it used to be with our ancestors, when it was just pretty much your family members, and you tend to have a higher chance of competing in such a platform because you have a lot less people to compete with, as opposed to now where you're competing on a global scale. It's either you're good enough to compete in the global scale or you're a total failure. And this is downright crazy, if you ask me, as a young person. This pressure has pretty much done more harm than good for our youths, because you see a lot of young people today indulging in drugs and every possible way to get away from the feeling of being left behind, as a lot of people might think. And personally, I feel like there's really not much to this time in our lives as young adults. This is basically the time for self-discovery and making all the mistakes you want without being judged, because eventually you're going to be in a position of responsibility where you can't afford to make certain mistakes or blow out all your accounts on certain things. These days, one of the most predominant pressures we face is that of getting an education. If you ask me, I believe that education is overrated. Before you judge me, I would like you to hear from my point of view. Every year we have tons of graduates graduating from various universities in the country with hopes of getting a very good job to eventually alleviate their families from poverty. But then, if you ask yourself, how many jobs are available for graduates? Every employer wants an employee that has actual experience in a particular job. How are you supposed to get that experience from just graduating from the university? Not everybody is supposed to have a tertiary degree, or not everybody needs a tertiary degree to make it in life. Most graduates tend to lose the zeal to actually hustle because they feel like, okay, they have jobs waiting for them, and probably graduated with a very good grade. You have this mentality that, okay, just because you graduated from the university, somehow the country owes you something or some kind of acknowledgement. That's where you really find yourself in a lot of trouble, because nobody really owes you anything, and the country is not even necessarily there to create employment for you, because just as you're a fresh graduate, there are a ton of other fresh graduates, like can you actually compete? What actually sells you out as a person is having specialized skill. I believe I've made my point that education as they see it is overrated. I'm a lifelong learner and I believe in learning because learning never really stops. But institutionalized education is a scam. That's my own opinion, but I'm sure you can do with your life whatever you please. And then there are the expectations that I should be dead rich at 25. I mean, there are a lot of successful people, financially successful people, younger than 25. But everybody cannot necessarily be rich at 25. And like, everybody can't be rich in life basically. But then I've just been living for 25 years and I mostly played throughout the first 20 years of my life, and I just started taking my life seriously, and you expect me to be rich out of the blues? Oh my god, I don't really understand where that is coming from, because it's not like our parents actually allow us to venture into anything while in school. Personally, when I was in university, like I practically had to fucking do everything I needed to get done that has to do with developing myself financially on my own without any support from my parents, especially my father, because he was always bent on the fact that you have to graduate, you have to graduate, you have to graduate, forget about money, you like money too much, this boy, just graduate and get something done with your life. You're studying petroleum engineering, you should graduate and get a good job. Stop looking or trying to start one business to distract yourself from your studies and all that. So like with all the focus on your studies, focus on your studies, focus on your studies, how am I supposed to be rich at 25? I'm sure you don't even have an answer to that. Another place of interest is like with the whole thing happening in the financial market, with digital currencies and digital assets happening and everything just happening so fast. Like it's easy for you to lose track of your real purpose and just get confused, because I mean, with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other digital assets making a wave in the market, like most of our young adults are confused as to where to leverage this technology, because right now missing out on all this is going to make you feel like a failure in the long run. So it's just a really confusing thing. It's really not easy to ignore all the pressures from every nook and cranny of our society, but it's a lot easier if you can focus on getting one thing done at a time. Basically, working on yourself. It's okay to be clueless as to what you want to do with your life at this age, but what's important is that you're actually making efforts to grow steadily. That's the most important thing in your life as a young adult at this point in time, because every responsibility that is placed on your feet right now is not supposed to be yours. Like, I'm not asking you to be irresponsible and like forget about all your responsibilities or try to wave them to the side, but you should know that everything in this life takes time. You should give yourself time to actually become the person that you want to be. This is basically me talking to myself, because sometimes I feel really pressured with the happenings around me, and sometimes I must confess I fear missing out on big deals or probably not leveraging on everything that is happening right now, because for me I feel like it's just going to be really disappointing coming up to my children and telling them that with everything that happened in this particular time, I was alive as a young man and I was unable to get anything tangible done. Like, it would be heartbreaking for me, and I believe that my children would not necessarily be happy with that either. As for love and relationships, you don't necessarily have to follow the norms. It's okay to have a relationship that is not like every other person's relationship. It's okay to think for yourself. I just want to tell you that it's okay for you to be confused. It's okay for you to try new things and fail at this point in time, because This is all the time you have to try and fail. Right now, you cannot necessarily be labeled a failure. You've barely started living. In a couple of years, you might be a failure if you don't take the right steps to make yourself a better person. Yes, the expectations can be very overwhelming. Having people in your life expecting you to do great things at a very young age is just supposed to motivate you, because then it's just telling you that you have people looking up to you. Everything in this life is basically about perspective than any other thing. Life is mostly how you take it. You should see these expectations as motivations and not as tools to make you desperate and make the wrong choices. You should trust the process, because you are in charge of your life. You have what it takes to navigate yourself. All you need is self-belief, believing in your capacity to do great things, and starting from the little that you can at this point in time. Eventually, you're going to reach all those expectations. I want to end this video by telling you that it's okay to be wherever you are right now, clueless, confused, and not knowing what to do as a young adult, because eventually you figure it out. The most important things are your expectations for yourself and the goals that you've set for yourself. Sticking to them and working on them daily to achieve them is the way to go. You can't necessarily like this video without clicking the like button, so I urge you to indulge it. And I'll be looking forward to your comments, so I know what you feel and how you feel about the topic today. If this is the first time you're watching a video from this channel, I would urge you to subscribe if you like the content herein. If you're a returning viewer, I thank you for checking up on my channel once again. I'd like to add that this journey of life is never over until it's eventually over, so you're expected to make the most of this time while it's still yours. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.